Last year at this time, we banished words and phrases like gaslighting, irregardless, goat, greatest of all time, quiet quitting, and it is what it is. Time to see what's on the list for 2024. I'm Larry Fedoric, and this is Later That Same Life. On my weekly podcast, topics, discussions, stories from our lives.
Season 11, Chapter 9.
Banished
Words
2024.
The list of banished words and phrases for the coming year is issued every December 31st by Lake Superior University in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. They've been doing this for almost 50 years. Of all the year-end lists that come out, top 10 this, top 5 that, best of these, worst of those, this banished words list is my favorite. Over the course of a year, Lake Superior University takes submissions from all over the world. They study the language, crunch the numbers, and release a list of 10. Words and phrases that make the list are based on misuse and overuse by the general population. If you search online for Lake Superior University, you can find the complete list, archive lists that go back decades, and an easy form to submit your ideas on a word or phrase that you think you've heard enough of already.
Stop saying that!
In the last few days alone, I've gone on the site and submitted a few for 2025. I'll get to that later. Right now, let's dive right into the Lake Superior University's banished words list for 2024. This is in the order they released them. I don't believe that number 1 on the list is any worse or better than number 7 or number 10. First, hack. The word hack. Banish it. At least the way it's constantly being used lately. Hack, of course, has its roots in technology. Your computer has been hacked. So has your phone. They hacked the whole system. They want a ransom. That's really the main use of hack. Well, unless you are wielding an axe to chop down a tree for firewood, in which case, hack away. This banished word is a case of not only misuse, but of course overuse, to the point where it loses its meaning. Work hacks, life hacks, home hacks, kitchen hacks, everyday hacks. You know, just because you have an idea for a shortcut or an innovative use for a potato peeler doesn't make it a hack. Use magazine holders to help keep water bottles organized in your cupboard. Ooh, what a hack. You know what? You're a hack. Yeah, that's another way we used to use the term. A hack is a person who isn't very good at what they do. Especially writers. Hey, do you read so-and-so? Nah, he's a hack. Hey, and from the Wayback Machine, hack was also what we used to call a cab, a taxi. Actually, it was more of an inside term used by the drivers themselves. Yeah, I drove hack there for a couple of years between jobs. We don't use hack in that manner anymore because less and less we use hacks. There's Lyft and Uber. Some of those drivers are pretty good. Some are hacks. But as far as shortcuts, alleged innovation, clever ideas, calling it a hack? Nah, hack is banished. Number 2 on this year's Lake Superior University list of banished words for 2024. Impact. Impact. Banished more as a verb than a noun. Impact is certainly overused. How will that impact the election? How does it impact the day-to-day? It's clear he wants to impact the final decision. Overusing the word impact as a verb diminishes its impact. Next, the phrase, at the end of the day. Yeah, I really agree with this one. At the end of the day. Often used to capsulize an entire topic. Say what you will, but at the end of the day, blah, blah, blah. Usually an oversimplification. Close cousins to at the end of the day are, when it's all said and done, case closed, and end of discussion. Man, I love those guys. End of discussion. Case closed. I'm sorry, I don't recall the rest of us voting you in as adjudicator of this conversation. You know, in the long run, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, well, case closed. Well, I guess all of those could be on the banished list, but at the end of the day, it's the end of the day. Banished Words 2024. Next, Riz. Riz. R-I-Z-Z, Riz. I have no problem not using this word in the coming year because I've never used it up to this point. Well, I've certainly heard about it, and maybe a little too much. Riz gained notoriety as Oxford's Word of the Year, and it's short for charisma. Charisma. That's too long, 3 syllables. I don't have that kind of time. Can we shorten it down? Chariz? No, how about just Riz? It's on the banished word list for overuse. And Lake Superior University experts rightly ask, if a word is being used because it's cool, is it still cool after it's overused? If you're walking around dropping the Riz, and suddenly you hear your mom and dad using it, and using it correctly, maybe it's time to look for a new cool term. Like I said, I have no problem not using the word because I don't travel in circles of Riz. Number 5, slay. Not one horse open, but S-L-A-Y, slay. As a former stand-up comic, it was a term we used often, along with kill. How did you do tonight? Oh, I killed. I slayed. And that's pretty much how it is currently used, only now among the general population. Used to signal an accomplishment. How did you do on that R&D report to accounting? Slayed. You see, to slay really should mean super accomplishment. But now it's being used to signify any old accomplishment. Used incorrectly. That puts you on the banished word list. Lake Superior University Banished Word List for 2024. Number 6, iconic. This was actually on the list in 2009. But sometimes when you banish something, it doesn't always take the first time. Iconic. It's overused. Not everything is iconic. Are you interested in a bathroom remodel? How about from the iconic brand Jacuzzi? Jacuzzi calls themselves iconic in their ads. I guess they're a legend in their own hot tub.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
To be iconic involves popularity, time, and historical significance. And even then, may not be iconic. You know, at the end of the day. Number 7, cringeworthy. Lake Superior calls this hyphenate a linguistic drama. I like that. And notes that the use of cringeworthy is in itself cringeworthy. Well, that's iconic. Oh, sorry, typo. That's ironic. I'm not sure about this one. Certainly anything that's overused or used to describe things incorrectly should be banished. But there's still a lot of cringeworthy things and people in this world, and the phrase itself is so descriptive, so emotive. Cringeworthy. I guess it might depend on your cringe factor, your cringe tolerance. We may have to negotiate the worthiness of cringe. At number 8, obsessed. Used incorrectly, used more and more to describe routine interests or passing preferences. Oh, I'm obsessed with this singer, this food, this show on Netflix. Really? Are you? Are you sure? Because generally speaking, obsession is not healthy. So why would you use the expression to describe that you just really like something? Next, banished, side hustle. Really came into being as a nicer way to say a second job. It's a tough economy, to be sure. Many people have to take a second job, sometimes a third, just to get by. But a side hustle, why, that's not desperation. That's slick. That implies that you have a cool, well-paying job, but you're also cashing in on a separate talent you exhibit on the side. You know, one of the things I wondered when Bell Media downsized me, was how many side hustles I would need to equal a full-time job. I refer back to my podcast episode 119, where I talk about happiness at work. Author Bruce Feiler says most of us already have 4 jobs. We have the main job, main income work. We have a care job. We have to care for kids, spouse, elders. We have a hope job, which is something we do on the side that we hope could be our job. And we have a ghost job. Ghost jobs are the invisible battles that we take on every day just to get by, like battling mental wellness or discrimination. Often our side hustle, if we have one, is the hope job. You know, someday I'm going to sell one of these spy novels I've written, or those end tables that I make in the garage, those tea cozies I make on the weekends. Side hustle. If it is just the hope job, okay, I guess we keep the term. But if it's what we call that second job that you need just to afford groceries, I don't care for the term either. And finally, the Lake Superior University's list of 2024 banished words. Wait for it. No, seriously, it's the expression, wait for it. This is one of those that's overused and certainly often used unnecessarily in the telling of a story. What happens next? Oh, wait for it. I'm pretty sure that I know the roots of this one. Traditional media, radio, TV. You see, they make more money not just based on the number of people watching or listening, but the amount of time that they spend watching or listening. Simple math, really. If 100 people each watch for a minute, you have 100 minutes of watching. But if you have only 10 people, but they each watch for an hour, that's 10 hours. That's worth more money. So everyone in radio and TV is told to hook the next segment. The hook, the tease. Coming up next, I'll tell you which prominent superstar has just been caught up in a sex scandal. Don't go away. Stay tuned. Wait for it. Now, see that one right there in the business, that would be known as a good hook. But, you know, TV people, they're basically stupid and lazy. They say stuff like, the weather forecast is coming up next. The weather forecast? Really? I always just say to the screen, can't you just tell me now? Do I need a sweater and umbrella? Just tell me. You know, waiting is the hardest part. And more we're in this instant tap, click, now society. Wait for it? Why? I think the banished word list is fun, but it also makes a point about language and the use of it. To recap, Lake Superior U this year recommends we banish hack, impact, at the end of the day, riz, slay, iconic, cringeworthy, obsessed, side hustle, and wait for it. And again, I recommend going to their website and looking through some of the archives and, of course, submitting some ideas on which word or phrase to banish next year. When I did this Banished Words podcast last year, Later That Same Life, episode 88, I recommended a couple of ideas for this year's list, and then I never submitted them. I guess I forgot. This year, I've already taken care of that. I've sent in 3 recommends so far. The biggest pet peeve is walk me through, used by lazy news anchors and interviewers who don't have a real question for the guest or reporter. It's like they don't know enough to ask a specific question, so they just say, Walk us through what just happened. Walk us through the details of your theory. Oh, and they use it a lot. Once you start listening for it, you'll hear it all the time. It's like saying that we are too stupid to get the story. So let someone take your hand and walk you through the details like the simpletons you are. It's also insensitive to people who can't walk. Just once I'd like to hear, well, why don't you put me in a wheelchair and push me through the details of this event? Walk me through, I submitted that. The next one is 100%, at least when it's used to agree with another person. I think that restaurant needs a new menu. Oh, 100%. Problem is, even though 100% implies total agreement, have you noticed that it's often followed by a but? Oh yeah, 100%, but you know what they should do also? Of course, sometimes people agree 110%, or even 1,000%. I've also submitted the phrase, is it me? People who start a conversation with it. Is it me, or was that the shortest green light ever? Is it me? You're starting a conversation by seeking approval for your opinion. Cut that out.
Stop saying that!
Yeah, so I've submitted those. I would be thrilled if any of my suggestions ever make the list. I'm going to try and submit a few more over the year. I'm keeping an ear out. So far as possible banishments, deep dive, crunch time, hit the ground running, on the same page, at this point in time, push the envelope, where the rubber meets the road, and shore up. I imagine every language has words and phrases that are overused, misused, abused, but English is the most widely spoken language on the planet. English, followed by Mandarin, Hindu, Spanish, and French. Mon Dieu! English has about 170,000 different words, and once we start combining them, cringe with worthy, quiet with quitting, and so forth, once we begin coining terms, well, the possibilities are in the millions. And that's not counting words we just made up along the way. Blame storming, nerd, workaholic, Google. Words that we borrow from other languages. Ballet, nacho, schmooze, karaoke. My point is, with all of these permutations and possibilities, sometimes hard to believe that we get stuck on a select few and beat them to death with overuse. We have to banish them. Isn't that why all languages have synonyms? Words that mean almost the same thing, but not quite? We have choices. Choices to use the exact correct word. Mark Twain once said, the difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. It's the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. Well, maybe that's more of a writer's thing. We're concerned more with the words. They are our business, our livelihood. Whereas most people just want to know enough words to get through a day. Go out for lunch and get a sandwich. Sub, hoagie, hero, wrap, torpedo, burger, burrito, grinder, panino. All have a hot dog. Words, proper communication is everything. Last year I joked that the university word list is banished by law, and that after a short grace period, anyone caught using the banished words and phrases would be taken into custody and prosecuted. I don't actually think we should have a word police any more than we should have a fashion police. Well, maybe instead private security. Let me close by saying that I hope my Side Hustle podcast, infused with hacks and riz, is not cringeworthy, but instead I slay and impact your life. You'll become obsessed, and at the end of the day, wait for it, it will be iconic.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.